Hello everybody, we're back again. Today we're in Palm, Pennsylvania, not far from the former Palm Station, which is not too far down the road there. Um, this is the part of the rail that is still in service to this day. It goes from the Pennsburg Station in Pennsburg to just outside of Emmaus at Harris Street at the junction where it intersects with Norfolk Southern. This section of the line, when it made it in the Conrail in '76, and then anthracite lines in '83 took over. Of course, there's going to be a lot of cars coming. Anthracite lines in '83 took over, and then the hold on a second here. And then after the anthracite lines left, the operator was the Reading and Northern, Reading Blue Mountain and Northern, whatever they changed their name to this week. But Reading and Northern basically was the operator. And then East Penn, who is the operator to this day, took over the line. So currently this is operated by East Penn. So why are we down here? Well, I figured today we'd do something a little different. And we'd visit the infamous, that's what the locals down here call it, the can opener bridge. At 8'9" you can tell there's not much fitting under there. It is definitely a can opener. I once lived not too far from here, and every time I come to the top of the other end of this road, I'd always look down, and it wasn't a really rare occurrence to find to see a bunch of cops and see a van or a moving truck stuck under this bridge. Back in the early days of railroading, when a lot of these railroads that still exist, when they were first laid down, they were all you had to worry about was maybe a tall stack of hay on your wagon, or an extra tall buggy getting underneath it, because there's nothing really to worry about down here on any bridge really, because you didn't have cars and trucks, or you didn't have anything like that back then. So these trestles, when they were first put out in 1800s, this one was probably done around 1873, 72, 73 era. Didn't need to be that tall. But as time went on and the invention of cars and trucks, later on bridges and trestles got taller. And even some that were shorter like this were actually raised. The one on 29, down near the Legion on 29, on the Perk, that was raised. I think that was raised like 3 feet. I also heard that it was lower too, that the road underneath it was dug out to make for more room. Every time I record, it's overcast and cloudy. Never a nice sunny day, I swear. So a lot of them are raised over the years. This one, however, was not. Mostly because of the road we're on. It's kind of a side road. It's kind of a side road, secondary road, I guess you could say. So I guess they figured there wasn't going to be a lot of traffic through here, which, well, there's a lot more than most people would think. But anyway, so this is an example of an untouched overpass that has not been raised up over the years. I think the one on 3rd Street in East Greenville, that was raised. Like I said, the one on 29 was raised. But those, when they were first built, were about this tall. This was about the height of them. So, another interesting fact down this way, down in Palm, there was once a proposed connection to the Colbertdale Railroad, which would have been connected to the Colbertdale Railroad by a Y, and part of the Y would have come, depending on what drawing or what map you would have seen, the Y would have come kind of down this way. But that never happened. There's also a Y, which if you look at the drawings or the proposed map of the Y, the other Y, that apparently did exist from what some people have told me, it did exist. And like a lot of things, we can't find any information on it. Or any maps or any actual photographs that Y, the turnaround Y, actually did exist. But we know the one to connect to the Colebrookdale Railroad that never existed. That never did. But we're on the other side now, and down that way is where the Y would have come off. Like I said, the one that would have connected to the Colebrookdale never happened. There's apparently another Y that did exist for a period of time. That's like a thing of speculation. I've seen write-ups about it. I think the one map we have actually has it, but like the one that shows the Colebrookdale hookup, it's in dots. Usually if you look at an old map for like a railroad, I think roads too, but railroads that were either being built or proposed didn't have the typical railroad drawing. It was actually dots, which would show back in the early days of maps. So it would have been down that way somewhere. Not 100% sure. But yeah, you can see this is a steel bridge with concrete and stone. The only thing is, I didn't know the earliest days that they would have had the concrete. So this may have been modified at one time, but it wasn't. Like I said, it was definitely not raised like some of the other ones were. And even though there's a sign that says 8'3", I think this is that one here, has the sign, clear as day, and it says low bridge, all other stuff, and common sense should tell you if you're driving anything higher than a standard van, you're probably not going to have a good time getting through here. But you can see people hit it, and it gets hit. Also in here, there's some of the leftover. This might have been when they modified this, so this may have been changed up a little bit, but clearly it hasn't been raised. Some more cut stone. One thing that I noticed on this side, but yeah, like I said, this is the only part of the line that's still operational from Pennsburg to Emmaus. Back in '09 when they had the F-unit excursions through here, I came under here to get a picture from underneath. And back in '09, I was back in the good old days when I kind of kept my distance from a lot of the rail fan community, and especially the photographers. Didn't know much about. Didn't really mingle much with that community back then. And I saw cars and people around. Didn't really think nothing of it. But I just kind of pull in here, and I get out of my truck and I go to walk underneath there, and you would have sworn I drove over someone's cat. I mean, these guys out of nowhere, you just wouldn't believe the yelling and hearing everybody yelling at me to get out of my shot, get out of my shot. So yeah, that was my, well, I don't know. I've been around trains and visiting railroads and stuff and since I was a kid, but I don't know. I never chased a train that popular before where people were everywhere trying to get video of it. So that was my first time getting yelled at by photographers trying to get their shot. But anyway, one of the things too that's really cool, that I always find cool, is along the line, especially when we're out exploring like the trail part, you'll see old cement bases, which to me is always cool. See, there's one right there. Cement sign base. That being right this close to a bridge was probably most likely no trespassing. A lot of times they would have no trespassing signs right at they'd have them right at the what's it called, right on each edge of the bridge to keep people off. So that, and because of it being a smaller looking pole that's still sticking out, there's probably no trespassing, so people would stay off the bridge. Or it could have been, a lot of times they they had signs back then. They had like county signs. If you went into different counties, it would be like, I'm not sure this is where, this might have been the Berks Montgomery County sign, or sign that's at Berks Montgomery County. Who knows? There's probably another sign base that was up there at one point. But like I said, these bridges, a lot of them were changed and updated a little bit and raised. Some are even completely rebuilt. From date stones and from some research we've done, it looks like from the late 20s, 1926 to 28, they had a project. There's another trestle down the road here, a bridge that I think it says 1926 or 7 it was being worked on. So late 20s, I guess, is when they started to do some modifications to some of these bridges back in those days. Let's see. See how these stones are cut. Trying to see if there's any of the markings for how they were cut. Huh. That kind of... These look like shafts here. If you see these semicircles here, when they would cut some of these stones, they would drill holes in the stone, and they had this bar with metal rods in it, and they would shove the rods in the holes and they'd work it back and forth till the stone broke. And that looks like that. If you ever go around these, I'm not sure why they're, unless these were just all the way down at the bottom, they dug too deep. These are a little too small. But also, if you're ever at a like in a cut, like a rubber cut where there's stone cut out, you'll see half shafts. I'm going to do a video on it Sunday. You'll see like half shafts or half semicircle holes in the stone. That was when they were blasting it. They would drill holes and pack it with powder and blow it up. And then when the part of the rock that remained on the stone cut, it looked like a, you know, half the shaft because half the hole blew away. So, but these, from the size of these holes, these look like the ones where they just put the poles in and worked it back and forth to break it. I don't think those were blasted. But the other ones that were blasted look kind of like that. They're like the half shaft, and they would pack it in. Sometime I'll go out on the trail and do a video of that one. So, oh well, I figured I would do a little video like this today. I had plans. I was out of town. I was out around Strasburg last weekend. I had plans of doing some filming out there for some different things, but didn't pan out. And weather-wise and doing everything else, out with the girlfriend for her birthday, so, you know, do another... Can't do all train stuff when you're in Strasburg, even though it's hard not to. So, all right, everyone. Figured I'd do a little bit about the famous can opener bridge here. Again, if you ever see any of these other trestles, I mean, these bridges around that look like this, you won't see them this low. They will not be this low. This is the infamous 8-foot can opener bridge in Palm. All right, everyone. I will see you next time. Thank you.